Okay, so welcome back. So this is the one that I'm really looking forward to doing. So it's Druid, of course. So yeah, I play a Druid in Classic. I'm going to be playing a Druid in TBC. So this is going to be quite a long one because there's a lot to cover with a Druid, because we're going to be looking at Feral both as tank and DPS. We're going to be looking at Boomkin, obviously, and Resto. There's so many changes to Druid that I can't help but it be a long video. We're going to basically break down talents, new abilities, PvP, PvE, viability, job lot. Not going to make this intro too long, so just wanted to know what you're expecting to see. So it is the changes between Classic and TBC. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out the giveaway as well. You've got to be subscribed to the channel to be in a chance to the giveaway. I mean, the channel's growing quite fast, so I can see the first giveaway being happening hopefully quite quickly. So that's going to be 3 months game time, or an Amazon voucher of equal value, whichever the winner gets. It will be drawn in game by just doing a /roll 1000. Whoever it is gets it. So cool. So make sure you sub and everything. Check the giveaway out. Yep, let's get into it. Right, okay, so we're going to dive into this. I don't need to mention liking and subscribing, so we can get rid of that. You've already done it. So what we're going to be looking at, so we're going to firstly look at talent changes. So talent changes between Classic and TBC. We're going to look at what new abilities you get. Then we're going to look at how do both of the above, so how do new talents and new abilities affect your rotation, or the basis of your rotation. What's the PvE and PvP viability of your class and spec. And then just some closing thoughts from me, so just my personal opinions on the class after playing it. Let's go. Right, okay, so yes, Feral. Well, alright, not Feral specifically, but Druid. So I'm going to stick to the same format as what I've been doing these overviews on the other videos. So we're going to start with talent, so we'll just get straight in because there's quite a lot to get through. I'm not going to cover minor changes on talents, so things like on the first tier. First tier is pretty much the same, except for Starlight's Wrath in TBC now reduces the cast time of your Starfire and Wrath spell, whereas at the moment improved Wrath reduces your cast time on Wrath in Classic, and improved Starfire reduces Starfire cast time. So now it's just all on one talent. So little bits like that, if I think it's quite important, I'll mention it, but a lot of this really has just been shuffled around because things have been moved out of here into Resto. So for example, Omen of Clarity is now in Resto. The increased physical damage is now in Resto as well. So then in its place of that, they've changed it, for critical strike chance of Wrath and Starfire by 4%, which is nice. Obviously we want crit. Increases damage and critical strike chance of your Moonfire spell, so 2 points for 10%, whereas currently it's 5 points for 10%. So they've just shuffled things around. So Insect Swarm is now replaced Omen of Clarity, so that's just been swapped with Resto. So the sort of basic damage improvements and stuff that are in Classic are still in TBC, but just on different talents. So we'll look at the ones that have changed massively. So like Celestial Focus, you're still getting that 15% chance to stun on your Starfire, but it also now reduces pushback on Wrath, which is nice. Moonglow is exactly the same. Nature's Grace, exactly the same. This is a nice one. So Lunar Guidance has been added. So with free, so it's 8% spell damage of as your total intellect. So that's actually with 3 points, it's going to give you 25%. So 25% of your intellect, you'll get a spell power, which is obviously lovely. There's a couple of talents coming up that are really exciting actually. So Moon Fury, so damage done by your Starfire, Moonfire, and Wrath by 10% with 5 points. That's fine. Balance of Power. This is lovely. So increases your chance to hit with all spells, and reduces the chance you'll be hit by spells by 2%, so 4% in total. So you get 4% towards your hit cap just from those two talents. And then we move down, they've put improved Fairy Fire in as well, which gives another 3%. So early raiding in TBC, having a Boomkin in your raid, where at the moment it's quite undesirable, having a Boomkin in low levels of gear for that 3% hit for the raid is amazing. I would say almost essential to begin with. So if you want to play balance, I may start as balance in TBC when I ding 70, purely just to bring that 3%. And as I say, you're going to get a 4% from talents. Feral will still do more DPS, but that 3% hit, somebody's got to take one on the chin and go balance, just so your raid gets that 3% hit. It's amazing. Real good reason to bring a Druid. Moonkin Form is fine. So Dream State, this is going to help with the kin situation. So regenerates mana equal to 4% each point of your intellect every 5 seconds, even while casting. So you're always getting mana back. So downranking sort of becomes a thing of the past. Then you've got Reficenari. So this is now your new talents. So your Starfire spell gains an additional 4%, and your Ref gains an additional 2% of your bonus damage. So again, they're just buffing those Starfires, buffing your dots, Wrath, all of that. So yeah, you're gonna be a machine, because let's face it, even in Classic, Starfire still hits hard now. Imagine, when you've got these talents, you've got some gear at 70. I think Boomkin's going to be quite competitive, to be honest with you. The last talent's a bit meh. Summon 3 treants to attack the enemy for targets for 30 seconds. In a PvE build, you wouldn't even take Force of Nature. It's maybe a grinding, farming, or PvP talent. It's got no place in raids. To be fair, that point is better spent elsewhere, which we'll look at when we put the specs up on the screen later. So right, let's look at but overall, just overall, the balanced talents are in a really, really good place. It's gonna be interesting times for Moonkins. Then let's have a look at Feral. So I am actually Feral spec'd on this at the moment. So again, not really massive amounts of changes for Feral. The main really nice things that they've done is combined the sort of tanking or DPS options that you had before. So I'll just jump straight down here for a second. So Primal Fury, at the moment is on 2 sets of talents. So you're using for 4 points if you want to get both, obviously. But your 100% chance to add a combo when you crit for Cat, and then 100% chance to get extra rage when you crit in Bear, is now just all put into one talent, which is nice, because now it means you can be a full PvE DPS spec Cat and still be able to tank just fine. There's not really, alright, you might not be taking thick hide and things like that, or the threat generation, but not really going to have an issue with threat or armor, to be fair. That extra 12% you're not going to miss. Obviously, if you was like the main tank of the guild, then you should absolutely have both of those, but I'm talking just if you was needed to off tank on a couple of bosses here and there, it wouldn't hurt me, and able to do it quite. You will be able to do it effectively as a Cat spec. Shredding attacks, so shredding attacks reduces the energy cost of shred. Obviously, that's exactly the same as improved shred, but because we get lacerate for Bear, this also reduces the rage cost of lacerate. So again, you're buffing your ability to tank, but just going for DPS talents, which is cool. Then we got. We've already spoken about Primal Fury, so I'll skip that. Savage Fury, so increases the damage of Claw Ray and Mangle. Obviously, Mangle is going to be a new ability that you get in talents, which we'll see in a second. So then, Heart of the Wild. So Heart of the Wild's been changed slightly, but in a very good way, because at the moment, we'll look at the current talent. So at the moment, you get, while you're in Cat form, you get 20% strength. When you're in Cat form, and we don't get that much gear that's got strength on, so it's quite a small contribution. And especially with the addition of these big feral attack power weapons that we're going to be getting in TBC. I know that obviously you can get them in Classic, but we'll be using manual crowd bombers, so it's really irrelevant. So we're losing the strength, but we're getting 10% of our attack power. So if we've got a weapon with 1,000 feral attack power on, we're now going to get 1,100. So it's a good change, obviously. Strength's still going to be an important stat. We're going to go over the stat weight soon, but it's so if we got 10 strength currently in Classic, that's going to give us you're going to get 10 plus you're going to get 20% of it, so you're going to get another 2. So you're going to get 12 in total. So it's going to give you 24 attack power. If we got 10 in TBC, that's going to give us 20 attack power plus 10%, 2. So we're going to get 22 attack power. So it's not a million miles out, but we are those items that haven't got strength on and have got agility on, we're now getting extra attack power from as well, if that makes sense. So we're in a better place, which is very nice. So this is a new talent, so Survival of the Fittest, so increases all attributes by 3%, again, which is very nice, and reduces the chance you'll be critically hit by melee. So again, a dual purpose talent, because it's going to be good for bear when you're getting your defense cap, and it's going to be good for cat and bear because you're getting 3% of all your attributes. So yep, that's a good change. So leader of the pack, yeah, 5% crit, which currently it's 3%, so again that's been buffed. So an extra 2% crit, but we also get improved leader of the pack. So affected targets have a 100% chance to heal themselves for 4% of their total health. Healing effect cannot occur more than once every 6 seconds. So now you just got to think that, like in a raid, you know, people, it's a desirable buff to have, because self healing for melee and stuff is just less stress on the healers really. Primal tenacity. Increases your chance to resist stun and fear mechanics by 15% with 3 points. Yeah, I mean, there's certain fights where it could be useful, I suppose, but I at the moment, well, I have not got it, and I'm using the sort of higher cookie cutter feral DPS spec, if you like. But serves a purpose in PvP, I'm sure. But for anyone who watches this channel, PvP, I'm not interested in. So, predatory instincts. So, while in cat form, bear, bear, increases your damage from melee critical strikes by 10% and gives you a chance to avoid area effect attacks by 15%. So, again, that's nice because that's just survivability for free whilst also getting your damage for cat. So, yep, pretty decent talent. I think we've done well as Druids, really, when it comes to talents. They've done a good job of them in TBC. And then Mangle. So, Mangle is what really changes what we do as a Druid. So, mangle the target, inflicting damage and causing the target to take additional damage from bleed effects for 12 seconds. This ability can be used in cat or die bear. So you have mangle bear, mangle cat. So obviously the reason it's for both is because we've got lacerate, which we'll look at shortly when we go to the new ability section, which is a bleed for tanking, and obviously mangle then buffs that bleed. But for cats, the main thing is the fact that we're going to be able to use bleeds. We can keep rake and rip up because of the debuff slot on the bosses is sort of non-existent, to be fair, in TBC. Oh, and also on Mangle, doesn't actually show it in the tooltip on in the talents, but the actual ability itself, it increases the damage from shred as well. So bleeds do 30% more damage, and so does shred. So you should never shred a target without Mangle on. We'll still be using Wolf's Head Helm probably for quite a long period of time in the expansion, because power shifting is still very good. But I don't mind that side of the rotation. It's going to be good, getting up, getting your bleeds up, keeping your mangle up, using power shifting to try and push out some ferocious bites. It's going to be quite an interesting rotation. Right, so let's have a look at the resto tree. Again, I don't really, I'm not a healer. I rarely heal, but we'll just skim over the good ones and the big changes. So, Mark of the Wild increases your effective Mark of the Wild and Gift of the Wild. Yeah, so yeah, exactly the same. Furor is exactly the same. It's this little bit that's changed the most. So, Naturalist now reduces the cast time your healing touch. Yeah. But increases your physical damage by 10%. So that's been moved out of the balance tree to the resto tree, which it's good because you're getting the reduction on your healing touch and you're getting the 10% physical damage. So pretty banging. Nature's Focus is the same. Natural Shapeshifter. So again, all they've done is just move it across and then combine some of the talents. So for example, improved in Rage you now get from Intensity. So yeah, that's that. All the sort of main stuff you get across all of these trees is pretty much still there. Some of them have just been combined or moved. So Omen of Clarity was in balance, exactly the same ability, but it's now in Resto. But it also now lasts 30 minutes, which is nice. So at the moment it only lasts 10 on Classic, but now it's 30 minutes. Just a bit of quality of life. Subtlety, nice bit of PvP. Utility there as well, I suppose you could call it, because of the chance to be dispelled. So your hots have got 30% chance of being resisted when they're being dispelled, basically, which is nice. So yeah, the mana regen, you still get the mana regen, 30% of your mana regen, but you also now get the rage from improved rage as part of that talent. Bit of a strange one to combine them with, I think personally, but yeah, Tranquil Spirit, yeah, we can skip past all this. Most of this is all the same. Still get your big instant heal. Improved Trank. I don't even know why they kept that in the game, to be fair. Could have removed that, put something better there. Increases healing, healing touch gains an additional 20% of your... So Empowered Touch, that's nice. So your healing touch spell gains an additional 20% of your bonus healing effects. Improved regrowth's the same. So now we've got... This sort of made Resto Druids quite god mode in TBC, in arenas. So your critical strike chance with all spells is increased by 1%, and critical strikes against you give you natural protection effect, reducing all damage taken by 2%, stacks up to 3 times. So when you when you're getting a rogue or warrior or something like that, and you're kiting and taking less damage in arenas, it is really good. And I'm not really that interested in PvP, but if I was to PvP seriously, so I got Gladiator in Season 2. If I was to PvP seriously, I would do it as Resto. I'd probably do Resto Rogue or Resto Warrior. But Swiftmen's still the same. Living Spirit, so just a nice spirit buff, more regen. But to be fair, we don't really have mana issues anyway, but we'll have even less in TBC. Empowered Rejuve, so just buffing heal over time spells. Obviously you've got an extra heal over time spell as well, but we'll talk about that in the abilities section. And then Tree of Life, so shapeshift into the Tree of Life. While in this form you increase healing received by 25% of your total spirit for all party members within 45 yards. Your movement speed is reduced by 20%, and you can only cast Swift Mend, Innovate, Nature Swiftness, Rebirth, Barkskin, Poison Removing, and Healing over time spells. But the mana cost of these spells is reduced by 20%. So make some awesome blanket raid healers, basically. You'll be putting out Life Blooms, Rejuves. You can still Dispel and everything. It's awesome. The Resto Druid should be quite excited about getting it. It's not quite as good as the Tree of Life in like Wrath and beyond, because you didn't have all that movement impairing effect on you, and you could use everything. But realistically, the majority of your healing in TBC is going to be raid healing, and you'll be in Tree of Life just spamming those hots out on everyone. So happy days. So that's the talents anyway. They're pretty good. As I say, the balance ones I think are exceptional. I would urge anyone who watches this and is a druid to maybe consider getting together some balance gear on your way to 70, and maybe helping your raid out by being balanced. Even if you wanted to go back to feral, you could make it clear to them that you're going to come and just take gear that people don't want or whatever. And bring that buff, because I think boomkins are going to be pretty rare in TBC, and they're going to be useful. First tier's a raid with that 3% hit is mental. So let's talk about the new abilities. Alright, so we'll start with Flight Form. I mean, this is not in any order. This is not like in an order that you're going to get them, obviously, but you'll get Flight Form, and later on, obviously, Swift Flight Form. And not really a lot to say. You never need to worry about a flying mount, because you've got this bad boy. So that's it. Maim. So then you get Maim, which is a cat form ability, and it's very much like I'll just show you in game. It's very much like a rubbish version of Kidney Shot. So it just breaks with damage, but it's good as a bit of control. Primarily a PvP talent, but obviously can be quite useful maybe in dungeons and stuff like that, because you can use it as an interrupt. Let me just get some combo points up on him. So and even in grinding, then you can get behind and shred. So it's quite useful. I'll put the tooltip up on screen so you can see exactly what it says. You're never really going to use it for the damage, but to be able to just control a target a little bit more to get off an extra. Oh, that was very good, was it? To get off a shred while you're killing stuff. So I'll do it again here. Maim, get behind, and then boom. That was big hit, big damage. So Maim's good. I like Maim. It's all these little things that Feral's currently missing. So yeah, it will be a welcomed addition to the feral toolkit, I would say. Then we get, so let me come out of cat form. We get Life Bloom. So, you know, really for the healers, but actually very nice even just when you're running around grinding. So Life Bloom heals the target for 273 over 7 seconds. So it's only a small heal, and then when Life Bloom completes its duration or is dispelled, the target's instantly healed for 600, and it can stack up to 3 times. So, you know, you can put a few Life Blooms on yourself and see, you know, what it's healing each second. And then let's pull a mob. And you can see the damage they're doing I'm healing for. Then it done like an 896 heal at the end. So, yeah, it's nice. Obviously, really good for Resto Druids in Trio Life form. Just spamming it around. So, Lacerate is just a... puts a bleed on the target, dealing 31 damage, you know, and stacks 3 times. Later on in the expansions... oh, actually, it stacks 5 times. Stacks 5 times, ignore me. Later on in the expansion... but look, it hits quite hard as well. Well, actually, it hits very hard. Later on, in a future expansion, I believe it's actually Wrath of the Lich King, you then get Pulverize as well, which, you know, synergizes with Lacerate. So, just to be clear, Druids in TBC have just got so much control in arenas. You know, they're just gods. They can kite, and then they can use this new ability, which is Cyclone. So Cyclone tosses the enemy in the air, preventing all actions but making them invulnerable for up to 6 seconds. So you can only do it on one person at a time, but, you know, you're talking, if you're a decent sort of hybrid-y spec, or even if you play as Feral, so you've now got Maim. You know, you can maim a target to sort of give it a mini stun or incapacitate it so it can't heal, or to interrupt a heal. You can go Bear, go out and charge to interrupt another heal. You can then stun, Bear, you know, your Bear stun, bash. You can then Cyclone. You can literally just prevent so much stuff that, yeah, it's pretty insane. As I say, the Druid overall is going to be in such a fantastic place that if you're like on the fence of what to main in TBC, you can't go wrong with a Druid, because one of the specs you will enjoy, you know, out of the 4, which are, yeah, I don't want to talk about their viability at the moment because that's a later section, but okay, I mean, that's the abilities. So you got Flight Form, you got Maim, you got Life Bloom, Lacerate and Cyclone, and then on top of those you've got your end, like, you know, Tree of Life, Mangle, for Force of Nature, which you'll probably never use, you know, that you get from your talents. But that's just a quick overview on the abilities. Okay, and now probably the best bit. So, you know, what effect is the new talents, the new abilities, you know, what are they going to have on your rotation? So I'm going to just get the easy ones out of the way first. So we'll start with Bear, because Bear, you know, a Bear tank doesn't really have a rotation because it's quite a reactive, you know, a reactive thing to be doing. As a tank, it's not like you're going to stand there and I'm going to say you need to keep Fairy Fire up, you need to mangle, you need to do this, you need to do that, because that's not really how it works. You know, you need to be reacting to whatever the situation is at the time. So I'll give you some pointers, you know, so to keep your threat high and everything else. Sorry, I'm just sorting my bars out at the same time as talking. So, you know, you want to, if you say you're the only Druid in the group, let's say you're doing a dungeon, you're doing a 5-man or something. So, of course, you want to keep up Fairy Fire on the boss to help the melee, to buff the melee, reduce the armor. You want to be mangling on cooldown. Obviously, I'm just spamming buttons while I'm talking to you, so I'm not like exactly trying to perfect this rotation that I'm telling you. But you need to keep Mangle on cooldown as much as physically possible, you know, rage allowing. Keep Fairy Fire up on the boss, and then you just basically dump the rest of your rage on Maul. So, like, you can see my rage generation's quite high, so I can I mean, everything's dying too quick. I should really go somewhere a bit higher. But you get to produce maximum threat, keep 5 stacks of Lacerate up, Mangle on cooldown, keeping that Mangle debuff on the boss all the time. tracking your fairy fire, making sure that's all, you've always got the fairy fire debuff on the boss, or whatever you're fighting, and then pay attention. That's it. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Your job as a tank is to minimize the amount of damage you're taking, maximize the amount of threat that you're doing, and use your brain when it comes to raid mechanics. I don't really want to go in any further than that with tanking. That it's how you press the buttons is easy, but how you master the mechanics and you minimize the raid's movement, you minimize the raid's damage, you mitigate as much damage as possible, making the healers' lives easier. That's not really something that you can learn from a rotation. You only learn that from playing the game, from playing the raids, researching the raids. My boss guides will be coming for TBC, so maybe watching my boss guides, just a shameless plug of my future videos that I've not even thought about yet. So yeah, not going to go too much into Guardian. Guardian, it's not even Guardian, is it yet? It's Guardian in retail, but you know what I mean. So then, what about Boomkin? We'll do Boomkin next, because actually, no, sorry, let's do Resto. Let's do Resto next, Resto Druid. Because again, I'm not going to tell you how to heal. If you're tank healing, you're going to want to keep Life Bloom rolling on the tank, keep Rejuve rolling on the tank, because it's not like Classic. In Classic, where you can only have one hot. So one rejuve on any player. Now you can have multiple. So you want to be keeping rejuve on people who are taking damage. Life Bloom rolling 3 stacks on people taking damage. So if you've got 2 tanks taking damage, keep 3 stacks on both of them. Keep a rejuve on both of them. Throw a regrowth in on both of them if needs be. You're just going to be sniping those heals. So we're talking purely about passing now. So you want to make sure you're doing the most that you physically can. If you're tank healing, it's gonna if you're raid healing, it's gonna be slightly different. Sorry, you'll be in Tree of Life the whole time, and throwing hots around everywhere. Again, I don't want to go too in depth on rotations or mechanics behind any of it, because they're going to be for later videos. This is purely just an overview. So yeah, we'll leave Resto there. Balance, yeah, we'll do balance next because that's nice and easy as well. So with balance, the basic, and I'm going to say basic, so basic rotation is just to keep your dots up, so keep Insect Swarm and Moonfire up, and then spam Starfire. And then control your mana. Mana shouldn't be as much of an issue in TBC. Well, it definitely won't be as much of an issue. But, time your innovate when you're moving, so you're not wasting a global cooldown when you could be doing damage. Maybe you refresh both your dots while you're moving, then you innovate yourself as you're about to stand still. You stand spamming Starfire, It's about being clever and understanding the mechanics. We was having this conversation actually on Discord last night. We was talking to some really top passing mages. And a mage's rotation is quite literally Frostbolt. So the rotation is not difficult. But what's the difference between a good mage and a bad mage? I apologise for talking about mages in a Druid video, but the difference is the mages that are passing high. A, they come prepared. They've got consumables. They've got everything they need. But B, they're minimising their movement and maximising their casting time. So that's by understanding the intricacies of the boss mechanic of the boss you're fighting. Sorry. So, that when it comes to balance, if you want to perform well, that is what it's going to come down to. Understanding, are you going to have the mana to be able to multi-dot loads of targets, and last the full 3-4 minute fight, however long it's going to last? Do you cut out some multi-dotting to just be able to, focus on the boss, maybe dot 2 mobs? All of these things, they just come from raiding. So, then let's do what's left? Feral DPS. Yeah, obviously we're going to be doing feral DPS. So this is fun. So I'll go a bit more in depth on this because I'm selfish and I obviously love feral. So a lot of the feral rotation I feel is going to come down to your gearing choice and your stat choice, as in, so when I say your gearing choice, whether you're choosing to get hit, expertise, ignoring expertise, just going hit, getting everything else. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. That was a pun. I hope it got a laugh. It probably didn't, but so what I'm saying is, I need to try these things out myself. I've not got definitive answers myself on what's gonna be best. I can tell you the basic rotation and the basic, stat priorities and all of that, no problem at all. So let's get into that first. So stat priority, basic stat priority should be hit cap, number one. Then as much agility as you can physically get. So that means gemming straight agility gems, assuming that you're already at the hit cap. If you're not at the hit cap, then you want to be going maybe hybrid gems, agility hit, to get yourself to that hit cap. If we're like in Karazhan or somewhere like that, and you've got Terrestrians, Illhoof Staff, or whatever it's called, it's got quite a lot of hit rating on it. If you're starting to get those raid items, it's very easy to get hit capped. There's not much mention from old school players who played at the same time as me, on expertise. Because when we went forward into Wrath, being hit and expertise capped was an absolute necessity. But on the basis because we're going to be starting in 2.4.3, we're getting expertise very early, because expertise didn't actually come in till quite a lot later. I think it was around Zolaman, so like 2.3, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but around that. So by the time expertise had come out, content was coming to an end, then we was going to Wrath, and then it was all starting again. So there's not much talk on expertise. Me personally, it makes sense to go for your 9% hit cap and the 6.5% expertise. But at the same time, now we're allowed to use bleeds. It's not so punishing if we get a dodge or a miss, because the energy gets refunded anyway. So essentially what we're losing is a global cooldown, because we get the energy back, and then we press it again and hope that it lands. But at the same time, we've got our bleeds. So if we choose to use Rake, there's arguments against using Rake, because unless it's a really high armor target, obviously bleeds ignore armor, but Rake is quite low damage still. So we may still be better just using Shred. So the base. Let me just put a basic rotation on. So we're saying we're going to keep Fairy Fire up all the time. Yep, assuming that we haven't got improved Fairy Fire from a Boomkin. We're always going to do the assumption that we're the only Druid in the group. So we're going to keep Fairy Fire up. We're going to keep Mangle up. So we would start, let's say we'd run in with Fairy Fire, with Mangle. Then we're going to Shred to 5 combo points. Once we've got 5 combo points, we're going to put a Rip on. Then we're going to, ideally you want to wait till you're at about 70 plus energy before you Rip, so you can make sure that you've got enough to maintain that Mangle debuff as well. Then continue shredding and try and weave in ferocious bites. That's the basic noob strategy. And I say basic noob strategy because I've not even mentioned the word power shifting, which that is what you need to be doing. But if you look at any guides other than my own, as in this is not a guide, I know, but if you look at anyone's guidance other than my own for TBC 2.4.3, there's not much, if any, mention of power shifting and using Wolf's Head Helm. But I guarantee I will be going into Sunwell still using the level 40 Wolf's Head Helm, because power shifting gets even better in TBC. We lose the meta gem. That's something that we need to be quite mindful of. So there will come a point, could be tier 5, definitely tier 6, I would say. There will come a point where the power shifting versus the loss of all that critical strike damage from the relentless meta gem is going to probably cause issues. So we then may stop power shifting towards the end of TBC. But certainly for the first couple of tiers, I can see it being a thing. And I can imagine I'm probably, as I say, still probably going to be power shifting in Sunwell, because there's some items that make power shifting so good, like so good. Like the staff that I'll put on screen now, reduced mana from shape shifting, amazing, absolutely amazing. The Alchemist Stone, so we use that and then we get more mana return, when we use a mana potion. So we're probably more mana bar self-sustainable in TBC than we are in Classic. Because in Classic, I don't know about you guys if there's any Feral Druids watching, but it does get a bit more difficult without a Rep Paladin on the longer fights, like Chromagus, things like that. It gets a bit more difficult to maintain your power shifting constantly, because it's just your mana bar is not big enough. So that power shifting will be a thing. So if I'm looking forward and saying, right, how are we going to do it? I wish I had Wolf's Head Helm and stuff on this character, because I would I'd give you a demonstration. But it's going to look something like running in, keeping Fairy Fire on, of course, then getting your Mangle debuff up, shredding to 5 combo points, but obviously power shifting in the standard way that you normally do. Maybe even using like a haste potion or something on a power shift macro, much like we do with Goblin Sapper Charge macros and stuff like that. If you want to look at any of my feral guides, are on the channel, so you can get all these macros and everything else you need. So you're gonna get to 5 combo points as quick as possible through the use of power shifting, which means you're gonna do it in four-ish global cooldowns. Get your rip on, keep power shifting hard, to try and get at least a ferocious bite out in between the time of keeping your Mangle debuff on the boss and then being able to get your 5 combo point rip back on the boss. So to me, it seems like it will be 5 combo point rip through power shifting, 5 combo point ferocious bite through power shifting, and then carry on with power shifting to get the rip back on. So you'd almost alternate rip, ferocious bite, rip, ferocious bite. If you get lucky with crits, you might squeeze out 2 ferocious bites, possibly. Because if we look at like what the mob I'll just kill on screen now, let me just see if I can quickly get 5 combo points, just Mangle spamming. And you'll see how long it lasts. So actually, I won't even bother with 5. Look, how many have I got? So it's 12 seconds. It'll last for 12 seconds. So in this time, with power shifting, as I say, I can't do it because I haven't got the head. I think you could comfortably get a ferocious bite out and then rip again. Now, this is not factually accurate. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying to you this is definitely what we're going to be doing, but I just don't think there was the knowledge back in TBC to be able to say exactly what is best. But I'm going to do lots and lots of testing before I put out a full feral guide, because the first full TBC in-depth, deep dive, whatever you want to call it, guide that goes out will be for feral, specifically feral DPS. So stay tuned for that. I predict that's going to be a while, as in like maybe 6 to 8 weeks, because I've got lots of these sort of videos that I want to get out first, and then on professions and reputations and loads. I've got a list, a ridiculously long list of videos that I want to get out relating to TBC content. But then the first proper in-depth guide that I do will be feral, and I'll have all the answers to these questions. But if we want to just keep it real basic, you're going to be power shifting, you're going to be keeping rip up, you're going to be keeping Mangle up, and you're going to be shredding. So that's the basics. Like, take out ferocious bite completely. That if you do that, you're going to get more shreds than someone who's not power shifting, so you're going to do more damage. You'll still be using Wolf's Head Helm. You'll hopefully get the staff. It's a BOE anyway, so farm loads of gold during Classic. Get ready for TBC. Farm loads of gold. Go in with 20, 30k minimum. So you've got your epic flying straight away. You can get this staff when it drops off, and it'll be on the auction house, because it will be expensive. Because every Druid is going to want it. I'm going to have a massive gold reserve just for this weapon. So yeah, that's what I would sound at. And then stat weights again is very interesting for feral, because the hit expertise, the whole hit expertise thing. When you got into Cataclysm and past, in Cataclysm and beyond, and even. Yeah, maybe even to current day. I'm not sure. I haven't played since Legion on retail, so that side of things I'm not too sure on. But hit and expertise, only noob druids went for hit and expertise, because you didn't need it, because it was all bleed damage. You was going mastery and crit. Now I know them stats don't exist, but at the same time, the rips and that, they are going to do good damage. So I would beg the question: do we need hit or expertise? It's something that I'm going to be trying, simming, testing myself. There's only limited research you can do on TBC at the moment, because nobody bloody knew what they was doing, to be fair, and we can't take private servers for solid information, because they've guessed on most armor values and stuff like that, which we've seen. Molten Core on private servers was a hell of a lot harder than it is in Classic, because they just had over exaggerated stats. So. But that is what I would say for feral, the basic rotation. I know it's not probably answered many questions, but you've got a good idea. The thing is, you're going to be able to use rip now which is nice. You'll maybe use Rake. Who knows? Depends on the boss. I would say, if the boss is some sort of spellcasting clothwearer type mob with low amounts of armor, you're not going to use Rake. There's no point. You'll shred. Yeah, even if we was allowed to put bleeds up now in Molten Core and we was on Shazra, we still wouldn't put bleeds on. There's no point. Like bang them big shreds out and then the big ferocious bites. So I appreciate this. These comments about Molten Core and Black Wind are only relevant at this moment in time when I'm recording, but you'll understand what I mean anyway if you're watching this. So I'm going to leave that there on rotation and hope it answers some questions. What I'm going to do is just put up a few specs. So the PvE specs. So if we put the PvE spec up for Feral DPS first, so you can have a look at that. That's sort of the standard. I would say you're getting all the damage talents you can get. You're getting some nice survivability. That would be a standard raiding spec. There where you can put your points when you're leveling from 60 to 70 and you'll do just fine. And then we've got Boomkin. So this would be a standard Boomkin raiding spec. As I say, Boomkin's going to be pretty damn good. It will definitely do good damage, but it will also be a really good support class. As I say, given your raid 3% hit is because it's a debuff on the boss. It's not even party wide. It's raid wide. So when you look at the I don't know, let's go for leader of the pack. Leader of the pack's nice. That 4% heal, but it's still only party wide, so you're only going to have you and 4 other people that are benefiting from it. Whereas, like as Boomkin, you're going to have you and 4 other people benefiting from the Boomkin aura, but then also the entire raid benefiting from an extra 3% hit. It's crazy, and I hope that I'm right in saying that because it also increases the chance to target. It's on the target. Well, actually, I am right in saying it. What am I saying? Of course I am. It's a debuff on the boss, completely different to a buff. So, yeah, that will be nice. So they're the Boomkin talents anyway. Standard. Resto. I'll put the Resto ones on, and I'll put the tank ones on. You can have a look at them. I'm not going to leave this on too long because I want to move on now to like viability. The viability of the specs. So if you want to look at these anymore, just pause it or whatever, or message me. All my contact details are in the description. I can give you my thoughts or send you links, or you can join my Discord, which would be preferable. Trying to build a community there as well, so you can ask any questions there. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to viability. All right, so now let's get into the viability. So is it viable? Is a druid viable? So obviously that's a big question, as in, is a druid viable? That's quite easy to answer. Yes, there'll always be one viable spec. So I'd rather break it down into each spec. Is each spec viable? Yep. That was quick. That was easy. So if we start with Bear, Bear tanks are amazing. They get so much bonus armor from gear in TBC. They get so much attack power. Their threat generation is crazy in Classic, to be fair. I know we rely on manual crowd pummeler to do immense threat, but still, we still generate great threat, but we generate even more in TBC. It's going to be nice and easy to hold aggro with or without the talent. I want to steer clear of calling having a tank in spec as having a rotation, but it's quite entertaining as well. You've got quite a lot of things to maintain now, whereas you didn't before. So if you was on your own and you didn't have a warrior's demo shout, you'd be using demo yourself, and then keeping your lacerate stacks up, keeping mangle up, making sure you're mitigating as much damage as possible, doing everything right. It's a very, very viable spec in PvE. Obviously PvP, not really, not unless you're flag carrying or something. But PvP in TBC is going to be all about arenas. So okay, we know it's not going to be great there. So that's Bear. Cat, yes, it will be viable in both PvP and PvE. In PvE, definitely 100%. You're going to see ferals topping damage meters if they know what they're doing. Definitely, I've got no doubt about that, and I can't wait for it to come out, and then I'll show you that it's true. But it will happen. The PvP side, I think, is going to be tricky as a feral. I don't recall it ever being amazing in PvE because, you know, why would you take a feral when you could take a rogue? You know, if you're pushing ranks hard, you know, a rogue's got more burst, more survivability. They've got a lot of stuns, you know, and blind and whatever else, but I still think the overall control of a druid is better in arenas. So, you know, that's why I would always want it as a healing partner, you know, because you've got a healer with more control than a rogue or a mage. You know, you got. I've been through all this already, you know, talking about the control aspect of a druid anyway, so I won't go into that too much. Then you've got Boomkin. I'll put a bit of Boomkin gameplay on screen. It was only me running around in greens, just killing some stuff, just to see sort of how hard stuff hits and that. But yeah, Boomkin will be, as I say, well, I could be wrong, we'll see what happens, but I think it will be essential in early tiers of raiding for the 3% hit for the raid. I still can't get over it myself, you know, how good that is. And we all know, you know, we'll sit farming in dungeons for ages just to get a piece of gear with 1% hit. We can take a class that gives us 3%. That's mental. So yeah, they'll be needed. Will they be viable? Yeah, I think they will. I think in the right hands they definitely will be. I think they are in Classic, to be fair. You just don't see many good ones. Very gear dependent, and they'll be very gear dependent in TBC as well. But I think they'll be doing some damage. They'll be pumping. Definitely. What else we got? So we've done Resto. I mean, Resto PVE, yeah, 100%. Resto Druids have always been good in PVE, and I think it's actually TBC that made them strong. You know, they're good in Classic, but in TBC they will start to shine far more than they do now. And in PvP, I'd love to watch this video back at what I'm saying now in, you know, a year and a half's time and see when, you know, the first season finishes and it's going to be a rogue and a druid as, you know, the best 2v2 combo. Well, probably rogue druid warrior, you know, that kind of combo. Because yeah, druids in PvP, in arena, in 2s and 3s especially, are absolute god mode in TBC. You don't really want another healer. They can peel, you know, they can take ridiculous amounts of damage. They can pump out really big, quick, instant heals. Hots, their hots have got, you know, 30% less chance of being dispelled. They've got, yeah, all the control in the world. Definitely massively viable for PvP. I think it's a good time to be a druid. We should all be really pleased. If there's any non-druids watching this, I think you should probably start leveling one on Classic, making yourself some gold, and get ready to re-roll when TBC launches. That's it. I would say, yeah, overall, amazing. Druid is in an amazing place. So I might as well just go on from the viability bit straight into what, you know, my final thoughts. And my final thoughts are, it's amazing. There's, you know, there's no better class I can think of playing. Yes, I had fun on the warrior when I was doing the warrior video a few days ago. Yeah, I had fun on the rogue. Bit too much fun on the rogue. But, you know, it's very, very close to kitty DPS. Do you know what I mean? So it's obviously going to be something that I enjoy, because I enjoy the whole energy combo point, you know, managing cooldowns, you know, all that. I like that style of play. So I knew I would enjoy the rogue anyway. But then, you know, when I think about all you're stuck with is See, I'm the sort of person who plays one character. I'm not really that bothered about ults. I've got a few ults, but I don't want to play them. You know, if I'm invested in my character. So my character, well, that's the one that I want to focus on. So if I want to play a healer, I'll respec Resto and change my spec. Why would I change my class? I can do everything. Literally everything. Even if I wanted to give Boomkin a crack, it's going to get better in later phases. You know, phase 5, 6 of Classic, it's going to start to get better. It starts to get better soon when we get the Bloodvine set, in all fairness. But you know, it will get better. It will be, yeah, well, better than it is now, which is not difficult, to be fair. But I wouldn't re-roll Mage just to do more ranged DPS. I'd still rather be a Druid. So my final thoughts on Druid in TBC is, if you don't play a Druid, you're a fool.